All right, let's dive into one of the most destructive forces in business, the price war. We're going to move past the textbook definitions and get right into the boardroom to really break down the strategic thinking you need to escape this kind of trap.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to diagnose the trap itself. Then we'll define what it means to break free. After that, we'll dissect two really powerful strategies to get us there. And finally, we'll wrap up with the kind of mindset you absolutely need to win. Before you can escape any trap, you first have to understand exactly how it works. And a price war isn't just a string of bad luck. It's a predictable spiral that's actually rooted in a classic game theory concept called the prisoner's dilemma.
Now, as a manager, I'm sure you felt this. You announce a new promotion, and boom, within hours, your main competitor matches it. You decide to drop your price by 5%, and they immediately drop theirs by 6%. It feels like you're both just running on a treadmill, burning through your profit margins just to stay in the exact same place. That right there is the race to the bottom.
This matrix, this lays bare the brutal logic of a price war. So put yourself in the manager's shoes for a second, and let's analyze the choices. First, let's assume your rival decides to price high. What's your best move? Well, if you also price high, you both get a medium profit. Not bad. But if you price low, you capture the entire market and get a high profit. Okay, so pricing low looks pretty good there. Now, let's assume your rival prices low. What's your best move now? If you price high, they get all the customers and you're left with basically nothing. But if you price low, you split the market and you both get a low profit. A low profit is definitely better than no profit. So again, your best move is to price low. Do you see the pattern? No matter what your rival does, your dominant strategy, the one that makes the most sense for you as an individual, is to price low. And because your rival is just as rational as you are, they are making the exact same calculation.
And that logic leads both of you directly into that bottom left box, the low/low profit outcome. This is what economists call a Nash equilibrium. It's a stable state, but not because it's good for anyone. It's stable because neither of you has an incentive to change your strategy on your own. I mean, think about it. If you were to raise your price all by yourself, you'd lose all your business. You're completely stuck. It's a trap born from perfectly rational, self-interested decisions that lead to a collective disaster. So if playing by the current rules always leads to that low-profit trap, what on earth do you do? Well, the answer isn't to be a smarter price cutter or to try to time your cuts better. No. The only way to truly win is to change the game itself. And here's the absolute key. That whole prisoner's dilemma matrix only works because your customers think your product and your rivals are basically the same thing. A hotel room is just a hotel room. A plane ticket is just a plane ticket. As a strategist, your entire mission is to shatter that perception. You have to find a way to make your pricing decision independent of theirs. All right, let's get into our first major strategy. This is all about making your product so distinct, so different, that a direct price comparison with your rival becomes difficult, if not totally irrelevant. We need to make their product an imperfect substitute for yours. This chart shows the exact transformation we're aiming for. We have to shift our business from the left column to the right. That means moving the customer's decision from which one is cheaper to which one offers the unique value I actually want. That's how you break the link between your price and your rivals.
Our first tactic is luxury branding. And look, this goes way beyond just having a fancy logo. It means investing in absolutely everything that shapes perception: your marketing, your staff training, the quality of your amenities. The Source gives this great example of positioning yourself as the best service in Tanjung So why does this work? Because once customers believe it, they are no longer comparing your $300 room to a rival's $200 room. They're comparing your $300 premium experience to their $200 standard room. It's a totally different category, which gives you the power to set your own price without your rival being the primary constraint. The second tactic is to build a moat around your business with unique physical assets, things like a 5-star kids club or an exclusive golf course. So what does this do from an economic perspective? It makes your demand curve less elastic. And that's just a technical way of saying that your customers become way less sensitive to your price. A family that absolutely needs a top-tier kids club won't even look at your rival if they don't have one. For that customer, you've just become the only game in town, and that gives you real pricing power. Okay, but what if massive capital investments in a new brand or building new assets just aren't feasible right now? Well, let's explore a second, more subtle set of strategies. This is all about competing cleverly, without ever touching that public, highly visible price tag that your rival is watching like a hawk. The core idea here is to increase the value you're offering the customer, which effectively gives them a discount without you ever having to advertise one. You're shifting the battleground away from the price itself and onto the value that's delivered for that price. This makes it so much harder for your competitor to make a direct apples-to-apples response. Let's really see how a strategic bundle works in practice. Let's walk through these numbers. Okay, so your public room rate is $220, maybe a little higher than your rival's $200. They might look at that and think they have the advantage. But here's the twist. You've bundled in a $50 spa credit, so the customer gets $250 of value for just $220. That's a fantastic deal. But here's the real genius of it. Why can't your rival just copy this? Because your cost structures are different. The marginal cost for you to provide that spa service might be super low, say only $10. But for your rival to match your offer, they'd have to go out and buy a $50 voucher from a third party. It's an unprofitable move for them, so they can't do it. You've just created a superior offer they literally cannot afford to cut. Another really powerful tool is the loyalty program. This is like a surgical approach. First, it's invisible, because special rates are sent privately to members, so your competitors can't track them. It also lets you bypass those pesky price parity rules from online travel agents. But the real power here is that it's a sophisticated form of price discrimination. It lets you offer a lower price to your most loyal, price-sensitive customers without having to drop the price for that first-time guest who is perfectly willing to pay the full rate. This is a massive strategic advantage that lets you build a defensive fence around your best customers. So all of these tactics we've talked about, differentiation, bundling, loyalty, they're all built on a fundamental shift in your mindset. So let's talk for a minute about what it really means to manage in this kind of competitive environment. In a market with tons of players and identical products, what we call perfect competition, you win by being the most efficient. But most modern markets, from airlines to tech to hospitality, are oligopolies. That just means they're dominated by a few major players who are constantly watching each other's every single move. In that world, being efficient is just the cost of entry. It's not nearly enough to win. And this quote right here, this really gets to the heart of it all. Winning isn't about running faster on that same old treadmill. It's about being clever enough to get off the treadmill completely. It's about outthinking your opponent, not just outproducing them. The payoff for this kind of strategic thinking is just immense. Remember that matrix from the beginning? By differentiating, bundling, and building loyalty, you are actively rewriting the rules of the game. You're creating a scenario where you can price high and stay profitable, even if your rival price is low, because you're no longer competing for the exact same customer. You have literally escaped the trap. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Apply these concepts to your own world. Look at your business or any industry you follow and ask yourself this question. What is one thing you can bundle, brand, or build to escape the war? Because that right there is the path from being just another commodity to having a real, sustainable, competitive advantage.